Well, I never know how to start out boring videos like this, but this car definitely needs some maintenance. I've been driving it extensively and noticed some things that I'm not happy with. On this corner, the axle seal is leaking, causing gear oil to contaminate the brake pads and the rotor. Yeah, that's all the gear oil coming from the axle seal. So kind of a while I'm in there repair, I just got all new brakes for all corners because these are rotors I got with the car and they're drilled and slotted, which I don't like. They just crack prematurely. So I just went with regular rotors because that's going to be more than fine. You might notice my seats are on the table. I didn't really make a video of the replacements I got. So check it out. I got some Recaros from Get Japan, and I couldn't be happier with these seats. They are in really, really good condition. Really, really nice. Good to have real quality seats in this car. You might remember I had one of those fake eBay bride bucket seats in there, and I just wasn't a fan of that. It's not really the safest thing in the world. So, yeah, genuine Recaro seats that match. And they're sort of period correct, which is the biggest thing I wanted to do. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, originally I was gonna get the confetti pattern in the middle, but I feel like that wouldn't really match the interior very well, being that these are gray back here, door cards are gray and black, so I feel like this is a pretty good match. I mean, comparing these seats, which are of course trashed, and this is actually a blue plastic, not gray, which always bugged me. I wanted to have these redone, but I think they're just too far gone, and they require a lot of special parts, like these vinyl back portions right here. Yeah, not worth saving those. But who knows, I'm gonna keep them anyways. I have to do an oxygen sensor on this car. I put a Martellius header on the car that I got from my buddy Josh, and I've just had this same O2 sensor throughout various cars. I think this was off an FX16, but I pulled it out the other day and it was just completely white and had a bunch of it's really old and it's causing an intermittent check engine light, so I gotta fix that up. I don't have any parts yet, so what I'm gonna do is just take this axle out and both wheels in the rear end in preparation to do the brakes and this side of the axle. Alright, so here's the parts I'm going to be using. I got power stop pads for the front and rear, and these wheel seals. I think I'm only going to be doing this one side, because it's the only side that's leaking, and I did them both at the same time, but I think this seal got put in badly or not properly or whatever, so I'm just going to do this, and hopefully that stops leaking. And also, brand new O2 sensor to replace this one, which has seen better days. This is actually the one off my FX16. Well, for whatever reason, this caliper turns out to be seized. Just took it around for a test drive and smoked the shit out of this brake rotor right here. Thought it would be fine, but I had a little bit of trouble screwing the piston of the brake caliper back in, because on these it's the screw type pistons, so you actually have to turn them to push them back in. So I just got a brand new one, and it was the last one on Rock Auto, so I got pretty lucky. And they didn't even have a left side one for the rear, but that one on the other side is fine. It screws in no problem, but for whatever reason this one's toast. So take it out, swap the brand new pads over, and have a brand new caliper. Alright, I feel way better about that. I just got done bleeding it, put the cap back on. I think when I wear in the brakes, the parking brake's gonna adjust itself, but yeah, I'm gonna put the wheel back on. Hopefully everything's good here. See, everything's connected there. And I don't know, the pads didn't look too bad. They weren't burned too terribly, but it's definitely not great for them. So we'll see how they bed in, and I might just have to spend a whole $20 on a new pair, but hey, no big deal. I'm just glad it's on now. And yes, for the first time I think ever in my life, I'm running wheel spacers, but they are hub-centric spacers, which is super important. A lot of people just run regular non-hub-centric spacers, and the wheels just vibrate like shit, so I'm not into that. Right, I think it's time for a speaker upgrade as well. These are the factory paper 5 1/4s. And I just got these Rockford Fosgate 5 1/4s here, which should drop right in, hopefully. These are gonna be such an upgrade to what I have now. Hopefully get rid of that rattling that these have, because they're just paper, shitty 30-year-old speakers. All right, there it is installed. Not gonna lie, I totally forgot how these brackets go on there. So apparently like that. And they leave a nice gap so it doesn't rub up against the little platform here. And they just go on through these bolt holes there, and they're black, so they should blend in pretty nicely. AVH 2400 NEX Pioneer. I don't know why I like Pioneers so much. They're just what I've personally ran in all my cars that I put radios in, and I just like them. So this one is a whole hell of a lot better, because this one I found out, I actually got this one in here for free, and while that's nice and everything, it's not really nice if it doesn't work. And it's actually so old that it doesn't even have Bluetooth, which was a big disappointment when I put it in. I figured all these things have Bluetooth, so I'm glad there's a reason to replace this. There it is. It's really dusty. I'm probably going to clean that up. Head units back to back, so we got a few more options to work with here if I ever decide to wire in a subwoofer, which I don't even think I'm going to, or an amplifier. There's a lot more outputs there on the back. I'm going to remove my USB here. I found this in an old drawer, and it's all the music I used to listen to in high school. There we go. So that's going to go in here. If any of you have ever made videos before and you look through the camera recording screen or your phone screen like I am in this case to do everything, it turns out to be a lot harder than actually just looking at what you're doing. Boom, there it is. And I think all I have to do is put the antenna in and that plug in, and just because I'm not going to be running anything else like video display or anything, or any kind of screen output, throw it in there. And of course all the old screws have to come off the bracket to transfer them onto the new one, so I'm just going to do that now. Alright, new radio installed. There it is. So far so good. Already looks a little bit better. Wow, a lot more modern. Yep, whatever. Alright. Wow, this is sick. Damn. Dude, this screen looks exactly the same. Come on, man. This looks so old. But there's a lot more options. So... okay. Okay, yeah, definitely a lot more options. Yeah, Bluetooth
Audio, wow, damn. There was only 3 options before, and now there's fucking Pandora, Spotify, who the fuck has an iPod anymore, camera, cool. I obviously didn't hook up the camera it came with, but USB. Hey, that kind of scared me first. I don't know what that database shit is, but sweet. Hopefully the shuffle works better on this one. Wow, that's a lot better as well. Let's see. Alright, I think I got it to a spot where I like it. This orange matches fairly well, as you can tell. I don't know, it might be hard to see on camera, but I like it so far. All the speakers work and everything. I gotta figure out Apple, where I gotta figure out Android Auto, so that should be interesting. I've never used that before, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, overall, I like it.
Just took the car for a little drive, and I found that the car's pulling to the left really violently when I brake. So I think what happened was I might have lost, when I was doing the brake pads, I might have lost one of the shims on the other side of the car for the brake pads. So I gotta check that out now. I do have both shims on this side, so that's good. And in a weird way, hopefully I don't have any on the other side. Alright, I don't know what the hell causes this. Let me see if I can focus on that. That looks cracked to me. And there's a bit of debris on this side of the pad. So I have no idea how that happened, but I think it's safe to say that's probably the cause of my braking problems. Yeah, let me see if I can get a better focus. Yeah, that's pretty sketchy. So I think I need some new pads. Let's see if I messed up doing one of the brake pad clips. Once again, pretty unlikely. So I got some homework to do. Alright, whatever the hell I was working on in the last clip is done now. I think it was the brake pads. So I got new pads in the front once again, and they all seated properly. So hopefully won't run into that issue again. But now, time for an oil change, because can't really remember the last time I did one, but it doesn't burn or leak anything, so that's good. And we should be all good there. And to ward off all the comments about what oil do I use, this is the oil. So I like to run a little thicker oil because most likely all the bearings and clearances in there are probably not ideal. I seem to run about 25 to 30 psi at idle of oil pressure, which is more than fine. And cruising down like the freeway at 4,000 RPM, it's sitting right about 80 to 90. So that's good for me. I'm not really concerned about it. So I have I'm gonna do a Blackstone oil analysis also. I've never done one of these before, but my buddy Josh hooked me up with one of these. So I guess we will get to see what condition my oil's in. So I'll go into more of that later on and show you what all they test for. And I had my first hit and run experience the other day while I was at the grocery store. There it is. So that sucks. Somebody, I guess, just scraped up my bumper a little bit and hit the road. So that sucks, man. It feels bad, but it's not that bad. It just, in reality, it just really needs another coat of bed liner, because it's a good thing about US bumpers. You just spray bed liner on them and they look brand new again. So just sand it down. It's a little bit of unevenness right there, a little paint cracking, but that's fine. Just sand it down and wipe it down and then spray over it. So I think I could even get away with leaving it on the car. Anyway, I'm gonna do the oil change. As most 86 owners know, with the stock manifold, it's pretty annoying to get to the oil filter, but there's plenty of room now with this Martellius header. So I could actually reach it and loosen it, but I think I need 2 hands. Hey, do you remember when I just said that it's so much easier to take the oil filter out? Well, I didn't take into account that this header tube basically touches the oil filter when you're trying to loosen it, and it comes out this way. So you could see it a lot easier and feel it, but in order to actually loosen it and get it out, I had to take all the hardware out of the exhaust manifold, and it barely loosened up just enough because it's touching the frame rail right here to get the oil filter out, because I'm running that sandwich plate with a temp sensor and an oil pressure fitting attached to it down there. So that kind of makes it that much thicker. But I got it out. So just a little bit mangled, old one, and wherever I put the new one. Right here. So that was almost a nightmare. That's the amount of room I had. It's touching the threads right now. It's like a centimeter away. But anyways, oops, I forgot to put oil on the seal. Now time to drain the oil. I think what I'm gonna do to collect it is just kind of put the little jar in here and get my fingers all dirty with oil. See if we could actually do it. Most unprofessional video ever. I got it. Boom. All right, let's see how much spills out. Hey, we got it. Hopefully that funnel doesn't move. This is long overdue. But yeah, 1030 Castrol Edge. I don't know why they advertise it as high mileage, but it is what it is. So I think it takes about 5 quarts. I usually just pour the whole thing in, but I'm gonna stop around 4.5 just to make sure. And hopefully it's not leaking out all over the ground. So that feels about like 4 right there, and 4.5. Just a little bit there. Perfect. I'm gonna let that all drain and check it. Nope, definitely not gonna be able to see that on video. Yep, alright, so that's full on the stick, so I'm gonna just start it up when I'm done fixing the bumper so I don't kill myself in here. And then it's probably gonna drink the rest of the half a quart, so done. Oh, also the car is not level right now, so I'm gonna check it when it's level off the jack stand, of course, because it's not my first day doing this, but I almost forgot. Alright, here's the damage and the light, a little better view, kind of dirty, but you get the idea. So I'm just doing a before, and I'm gonna sand it down right now. Nothing a little drywall sander can't fix. Say it's gonna take about 10 minutes. Fully restored AE86. Sand some drywall, bitch. Fucking hit and run piece of shit. I figured I could ask for security camera footage, but it's like, who gives a fuck? It's a scratch on the bumper, so. Even if I thought I was done with sanding and I thought it was all behind me, nope. There's more to sand. So this is a lot of fun. So we'll get there eventually. I'm just kind of clearing up the rough spots, and hopefully it all blends in enough to where I don't give a fuck. So that's all that matters. Not gonna be winning any car shows. If I wanted a perfect car, I'd make it a convertible, because the roof is all fucked up anyway. Alrighty, that looks pretty good to me. Job's all done, so it's still a little bit wet right now. It looks a little bit uneven. That side's filthy dirty, so I'm just gonna wait for it to dry, kind of tacky. This was just what I used, so little spray job, fixed it just nice. You can't even tell, so I like it. Anyways, on to the next thing, which is in here. And it's this. A little bit of play in the steering wheel from the steering joint. From the factory, Toyota uses this rubberized material inside of the steering column, and when I replaced with the manual rack, I forgot to put the rubber sealant inside of the where the steering arm goes. I'll show you that. So I think I'm just going to take out the entire steering column and remove it from the car and fill the tube with rubber coating and leave it in there overnight to dry up, so that takes care of the slack. That's where all the play is coming from, inside that little joint right there. You can see I used a little bit of RTV, but it wasn't enough, so I have to just fill this whole thing there with sealer. So I just got this tube here, ultra black gasket maker, and then I'm just gonna fill the whole thing. So this is no doubt enough. This shit's expensive too. It's like $20 for the can. Alright, steering column's out. The only thing that fought me was there's a little rubber clamp here to keep the engine bay fumes out of the cabin, and I had to cut it because obviously it was pretty rusty. So I'm gonna have to just get a hose clamp from the stash over there and use it on here. Should be no big deal because it looks like a, I don't know, 2.5, maybe 2.25 inch diameter. Anyway, so this is what I need to fill with rubberized, well, some kind of coating. I'm just gonna put RTV in there because that is very similar to what they use in the factory. Let's see if I can get flash in here, see if there's anything. Yeah, so that's pretty dry. There's still a little bit of remnants from what was left from the factory. So I'm gonna fill the whole thing up, and looks like it goes down to right about here, right next down. So the whole idea is that the steering arm is a reproduction one. I'm not sure if it's a fault from the reproduction. It's a Mark III Supra shaft. So it just has a little bit of play in here, and to close up the gaps, Toyota just used RTV or something. So I'm gonna fill it up now and see how that goes. All right, there it is. So I'm just gonna put some tape over there and then put it back in the car and let it dry, probably overnight. Should be done earlier than that, but hopefully that solves the steering play because it's pretty annoying. All right, well, sadly I had to take the steering shaft off the car and off the steering rack. So this is my little contraption to actually hold it in place because the RTV was forcing the steering shaft out of the column itself. So it looks like it's dry right now. I just tried to push it in and it's not coming out anymore. So I think it's dry enough to actually go ahead and cut the zip ties and install it in the car. Hopefully that got rid of the play in the steering, but we'll see. So I'm gonna clean that up a little bit, slide this rubber piece back over, and call it a day. Test it out, I'm excited. Steering column's back on. Everything should feel good. I'm about to test it in a second, but the only thing that fought me was this hose clamp. It was one of these originally, and yeah, there's no way this thing was coming apart. It's rusted shut, and so I just cut the rings off. Plug in these two harnesses. There we go. Of course the ignition plug here, but I think I need two hands. So anyway, I'm gonna put this trim piece back on and then test it. All right, everything's fixed. No more play in the wheel. It's so much better. I can't believe it took me all this time to do that. Got a lot done today on the car. Actually, it's been a couple days of work, but I don't really have anything to film these days, which is a good and bad thing. Let's check on that bumper. Boom. Still need to blend that a little bit. I'm just gonna rub some polish on that because you could tell where I sprayed. and just even that out a little bit. But man, what accident, man. What accident. So the whole car is dirty right now, so everything looks a little bit more discolored than it should be, but everything, once I polish these bad boys up, like look at that. So cool. My first hit and run, of course it had to happen on the Corolla, but it is what it is. Some people are idiots. Anyways, this is gonna be a long video, so I'm so excited. That's all fixed. That was one of the most annoying things driving this car was the play in the steering. So I'm gonna start it up and see what goes down. So I just found an old buzzer in one of my drawers. I think I'm gonna install it just to see how bad it really is. I remember these things shrieking like a banshee whenever you put the key in, so I wonder if this one's exactly the same. So this one's been sitting around for a long time, but anyway, I'm gonna throw it in. I think that's the plug right there. And if I'm able to do this. All right, that should be enough. So there it is. Oh my God. Wow. No wonder I take those things out. So there it is. All right, later.